Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Satvika. Good morning, Tanvi.
Good morning, ma'am.
Can we have your videos on? Thank you. Okay, so we're meeting after a long time. So anything in between that you have come up with in the tests that you want to talk about? Or yes, we will have a dot solving session, as you must have seen in your timetable, on the 22nd, right? So all your doubts, you write them down. What question, what is your doubt, where you are going wrong. Analyze all the class tests that you have done so far and see what are the types of questions you have been going wrong in. So Satvika, have you been doing the class tests?
Ma'am, I couldn't hear you.
Have you been writing the class tests so far?
I've missed a few, like the last two class tests for English
Okay.
and quant, so I have to cover them up.
Okay, and the previous ones, how have you done?
Yeah, what do we call it? I've rechecked on them if I've made any mistakes, and the analysis part, yeah, I've done. And I've looked at my doubts and all.
Okay, so have you pinpointed sort of or figured out which are the types of questions you are going wrong in?
Kind of, yes. I have a slight idea where I'm going wrong.
So
I
write them
think,
down, write down the types of questions that you are going wrong in.
yeah.
Yeah. And then we can discuss how to work on it. Yeah. Tanvi, how about you?
Ma'am, I too have missed many of the class tests.
Okay, so you've done some at least?
Yes, ma'am.
So the initial ones you did or the later ones?
Excuse me, ma'am, can you repeat?
You did the initial ones or the later ones?
Ma'am, initial ones.
Initial ones. So any idea how you fared in them?
Ma'am, it was good. I recheck upon it and let you know where I am going wrong.
Okay. So you also write down the question types that you are going wrong in and why you went wrong. So if you analyze your whys, you will be able to improve on your performance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So now today we will just pick up on where we had left on session 18. I hope you've got your books. Yeah. So you keep your books ready anyway. So I will, you don't really need your books right now. I've just picked up a few of the questions and just a little brushing up on what we had done so far. So if you remember, I don't really expect you to remember what we did in a long time. So when we were talking about the critical reasoning, I'll just recap and then we will go into a few questions. So when we are talking about critical reasoning, what are the different concepts that we came across? There were the argument questions, finding conclusions, finding the facts, assumptions, and inferences. Yeah, these were mainly what we were talking about. So when we talked about assumptions, what were they? The questions were about weakening or strengthening assumptions. So whether strengthening the conclusion. What do assumptions do? Anyone? Aditya? What are assumptions supposed to do?
Provide basic knowledge.
They would be providing the premises for the conclusions. So the a conclusion would be based on an assumption, and the assumption would be based on a given fact. Yeah. So if the assumption is weak, if the assumption is say wrong, then it will weaken the conclusion. If the assumption is true, then it will strengthen the conclusion. So whether it is supporting the conclusion or going against the conclusion, that is what we have to figure out. So those are the types of, now when you are coming to a conclusion, this is especially when you are talking about comprehension questions, the reading comprehension, or the para completion and para jumbles. This is where you look at the conclusion, which is the main point of the argument. Yeah. So like Aditya, you said that when you are doing the sentence completion and you are looking at the concluding sentence, what do you have to see? What is the main point of the entire argument? What sums it up rather? Yeah. Sorry. Now, when you're talking about the facts or premises, this is a very important part which you cannot miss out on, right? So when I say you cannot miss out on, what does it mean? Everything is based on the facts. Yeah. So when you say facts or premises, this is the most important thing. Anything that is not based on the facts is not a valid conclusion, right? So when you are assuming something that is also based on the facts, maybe something that is explicitly stated or something that is implicit or hidden in the passage. So maybe say when you're talking about inferences, inferences are usually on the basis of assumptions which are not clearly stated, right? So these are the things that you have to be aware of when we are talking about these questions. So like I said, facts, what are conclusions? Conclusions are facts plus assumptions. So assumptions are also based on the facts. If the assumptions are baseless, it is weakening the conclusion. So this is what you have to remember. Now, another thing that you have to remember is the keywords. What keywords are we talking about? So what are keywords? What do you do when you have a passage? You underline the keywords in the passage.
Highlight the facts.
You highlight the paragraph, highlight the keywords, which now keywords will give you the important information and you have to extract the important information from the entire paragraph. So what is the author trying to say? What is the logic behind a particular point, or what is exactly the point? And you remove all the other things, right? So when you're talking about a comprehension passage or critical reasoning short passages, what are you doing? You are identifying the conclusions, you are identifying the facts, yeah, the conclusions, the facts, and the assumptions. These are three very important things in whether you are talking about para completion, para jumble, assumption questions, inference questions, or your reading comprehension questions. Yeah. So the main thing is always answer why has the author said this. Okay. So when you're talking now, the types of questions you come up with, say the argument questions. Now, when you're talking about the argument questions, what do you mean? There are two types of argument questions. One is strengthening the argument, the other is weakening the argument. So this is what is very important to know, that whenever when you say you have a strong argument will always be logical, based on the facts, and it should be relevant. Yeah. So logical based on the fact that it is practical, and it should be relevant, and it will always answer the why in the logic. Yeah. So logical means it will always answer the why. Now, when you talk about weakening the argument, any assumption that weakens the argument, it will be illogical, impractical, irrelevant, not based on the facts. Yeah. And it will not answer the why question. These are the two things that you have to remember. Okay. So now when we come to the next one, Like when I say facts, what are facts? You can verify the facts means it is given in the passage. Or it could be a universal truth on which an assumption is based, or the statistics that are given to you. Yeah. And another thing that you come across is judgments. You won't be asked to identify judgments, but yes, there could be questions where you have to be able to distinguish between assumptions, inferences, and judgments. So judgments are something which the author says, and it like implies that is something that is like, this is given, but I think so. Yeah. Or something, a statement that may tell you that, okay, this is a fact and this is what we think about it. It is not a conclusion. It is not that something is given to you and you conclude, but somebody is already making a judgment that this is what we are thinking about it, right? Okay, now when we are talking about inferences, what are we looking at? Inferences with can be drawn on say unknown so inferences can be drawn on the unknown, that is assumptions which are not given to you. Yeah, that is implicit, something that is implicit, but that will also be based on facts and logic. So anything which is not based on the facts and logic is not an inference based on the particular lesson or the particular paragraph. But inferences are not directly given to you. Conclusions can be drawn directly. Inferences are not drawn directly. Yeah. Now, what you have to be careful about is extreme words. Like if they say that this is always happens, it is always seen that inflation happens when demand increases. Now, that is not an inference. That can be a conclusion. Yeah. So any extreme words like any, all, never, none will not be an inference. It will be contrary to the inference. Right. Now, so then what is the difference between inference and conclusion? So we have to know what the conclusion is first. Now, when we say a conclusion is always what the author is trying to prove. It is not what, now the inference, one more thing, inference is from the point of view of the reader. You are asked to infer something. Maybe the author has not stated it, but you are inferring.
Ma'am,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but your voice is glitching and it's hard to hear you.
Is everyone facing the same problem? Aditya?
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Tanvi, can you hear me properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Satvika,
Okay,
do you
I think
have
it's my issue. Yeah.
maybe some
I'll look at
problem
it.
with your network? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're talking about a conclusion, you have to see what is the point of view of the author, right? So whatever has been given to you, what is the conclusion the author is trying to prove or trying to tell you? So it could be an opinion of the author, the position, or based on the judgment of the author, right? So this is the question that you have to ask yourself. Is the author trying to prove it, or is that author trying to convince you about it? Then it would be a conclusion. Yeah. And if it is left to you to decide, that would be an inference. Okay. It is confusing between inference and conclusion. But if you remember that is the author trying to say this, then you know that this is the conclusion. Because when you are getting your options, they may give you inferences and conclusions, and the question may be asking you to figure out what is the conclusion from this particular paragraph. So you have to see, is it the point of view of the author or not? That will be the conclusion. Yeah. So when you have a conclusion, usually you can come across that, say in a para jumble question. how will you find out that this is the concluding statement? So it may be concluded that, or we can contend that, believe that, or we can hypothesize that, or it can be clearly seen that, or it is clear from the passage. So when you come across these keywords, you know it is a conclusion, right? Or if you come across some words like therefore, thus, consequently, hence. So these are conclusions. This we had done when we were doing the para completion and para jumble questions also. So this is just a revision and you have to remember these. Okay. Now when you're talking about inference again, the inference can be accurate or inaccurate from the point of view of the author. Yeah. It could be justified or unjustified, logical or illogical, but a conclusion will never be illogical, unjustified, or inaccurate, right? And now when you're talking about inference, we can say, like, usually it is an educated guess, that is, you are basing it on the facts, but you are making a guess, you are assuming, you can say. And conclusion, we can say, is logically derived from the facts that are given to you. Yeah. So this is logically derived, and the inference you are assuming from the facts. So that is the only difference between the conclusion and the inference. Yes, Satvika, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, it's
Okay.
I can.
Okay, if you're having a problem, you can have your video off. If you can hear me clearer if you with your video off.
Yeah, I guess I'll keep my camera off because my net
Okay.
is slightly unstable.
Yeah, so maybe that is a problem. So now what we have to remember is whether it is a conclusion or inference, both are based on facts. This you can write it down, right? So you don't have to get confused. If you're confused, is it a conclusion or an inference? What do? Yes, Tanvi? What would you do? Whether if a given option, if from the given options, you are not sure whether it is a conclusion or an inference. Yes, Tanvi? Are you there? Okay, Satvika, I think you can answer this.
Could you repeat?
How will you figure out that a given option is a conclusion or an inference?
A conclusion can be said to be a statement that the author is trying to impose upon us.
Okay.
It is something that it is his the author's opinion, but inference is something that we collectively can come to a conclusion upon based upon the facts given in the passage.
Right. Very good. Okay, so we'll move on. Now, I think the summary-based questions we hadn't done last time. So I'll just give you a gist of it. Now, the summary-based questions you've already done in your reading comprehension, right? So how did you go about the summary-based questions?
Highlight the main points of the passage.
Yeah, so you first look at the main, identify the main points. You read the paragraph, identify the main points. Then you look at the logical relationship. Now you may have paragraph given to you, and you have to just pick out the one line that summarizes the entire paragraph. So it should be a broad option. Number one, and it should not distort any information. That is also important. Anything that distorts information will not be your correct summary. So maybe half the information is correct, half of it is not. Maybe if the option is giving you a specific point from the paragraph or the passage, that will not be your summary. So it would more or less be comprehensive and broad in scope. And yes, it should be precise because we are talking about summaries. Yeah. So this is what you look at when you are doing summaries. Yes.
So for the right option, if it's choosing the right option,
Hmm.
it should include all of the critical information.
Yeah,
We
it
can't
should.
miss out any information.
Like it should have more or less like when you're talking about a main idea, yeah, it should encompass the main idea.
Okay.
Maybe it doesn't have all the information, but it gives you what the paragraph is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are not doing a paragraph summary of the entire passage. There we would be picking out the important information. Here we are talking about a single sentence summary. Yes, good morning, Pahi. Okay, so when you're talking about a single sentence summary, then you have to look at the option which more or less gives you the entire essence of the paragraph or the passage. Yeah. Yes, good morning, Preetha and Pahi.
Good morning, ma'am.
What happened? You're so late?
No, ma'am, I have been still since the start.
You've been there? I didn't see you.
Yes, ma'am, I have been since the start of the class.
Okay. So I hope you're following everything.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so now okay. So now when you are you have options. I'm going back to this because this applies to all sorts of questions, right? So when you are eliminating options, what do you eliminate? Yes, anybody will tell me?
The ones which don't confirm with the passage.
Yeah. So something that is out of scope or irrelevant or something that is not say, we can say half of it is correct, half of it is not correct. Yeah, which is not giving you the correct information. Those you will be eliminating. And something that does not keep the focus, maintain the focus of the paragraph or the question that has been asked to you, that also you would be eliminating. Yeah. And like when you are confused between two options, what would you do? Something that was something that is in essence and does not have any irrelevant details, you will be keeping as your answer and eliminating other one which has at least something in it which is not relevant. Yeah. So anything that has the facts, you keep. Anything that is according to the main point of the passage, you keep. Right? Okay. Now this is something which you can note it down. It is there in your book, of course, but in case you have missed it out. So when you're talking about answer options that are misleading, what do you look at? Something that does not is not in accordance with the central idea, right? So if it is not giving you the central idea, what do? Eliminate. Something that is repeating the statement that is already given to you. Yeah, this is when you are talking about summary, when you're talking about sentence para completion, anything that is repeating a given statement will not be your answer. Right? Okay. And something that is overstated or understated. So it is not complete or it has some irrelevant information, will not be your answer. So those are the misleading ones. And something that has only a few points, that is, it is narrow in scope. That this is especially when you are talking about summary or conclusion of a given paragraph. Yeah. An answer that just paraphrases the last sentence of the passage, will that be a conclusion?
No.
No. Will that be a summary? No. Right? So these are the things that you can take note of. So you can mark it in your book and go through it whenever you are confused that should this be answer, remember these points. Okay. Okay, now when we are talking about the conclusion, whether it is in the last sentence or not, that was a point that had come up. So especially when you are summary or in a conclusion, so it could be, the conclusion could be the something that sums up the passage, or it could also be something that continues from the given last sentence. Yeah, so both could be a conclusion. So para completion we had already done. So this is just a revision of what we had gone through. What do we do in a para completion? We read the paragraph, we summarize it, get to the main point or the main idea, identify introductory sentence. Yeah. So you first identify the introductory sentence, concluding sentence, and in the para completion, what else do you do? Logical order of the sentences. That is important. Yeah. Now, when you are talking about the concluding sentence, as we said earlier also, it could take into account what has been said earlier, or it could be either the conclusion of the passage or logical extension of the second last line. Both can be a concluding sentence. Right? I hope you've taken note of all these things. Okay, now another type of questions that does come up would be the paradox question. Now, when you're talking about a paradox, what does a paradox mean? Anybody? Preetha, can you tell me what a paradox means? Preetha, are you there? I don't think Preetha is there. Pahi? Yes, Pahi, can you come in? Yes, so can you tell me what a paradox means? Any idea?
It's a situation or statement where like two things come together.
Yeah, so you are not sure about something. Yeah, it can be true, it cannot, maybe not true. It is based on something which can prove something or may disprove it also. Yeah, so that is when we are looking at a paradox statement. The paradox statements are also based on assumptions, right? So there could be assumptions or statements that contradict themselves. Yeah. So when you are dealing with the paradox, we will come to the paradox type of questions. So when you are dealing with the questions, you have to first identify what the paradox is. So this is a statement given to you. This seems to be true, but then the next statement tells you that next statement can be contrary to the given fact. Yeah. So what do? You have to change the paradox into a simple question. Why is it not true? So that will help you to resolve the issue. Yeah. So again, paradox questions will also be like, if this statement is true, this is a paradox, or what is the paradox? If this is the assumption, then is the paradox resolved? So these are the type of questions that we would be coming across in critical reasoning. Most of them you have done. So some of them we will do. So this is just a like brain map that you have to keep in your brain when you are doing any of these type of questions. So what do you have to identify? You have to identify facts. Yeah. First thing you have to identify is the facts. Next, assumptions. Depending upon what the question is, you have to identify conclusions and inferences. and judgment. So if you're given a judgment, it will never be an inference. So if the question asks you, what can you infer from this? If your option looks like a judgment or a conclusion, that is not your answer. Yeah. And of course, you will always identify the main idea, tone of the passage, style of the author. Style of the author also helps you in coming to a conclusion or identifying an assumption that the author may have used. Yeah. And very important are the keywords and eliminating irrelevant choices. These are the things that you have to keep in mind while you are answering questions. Okay. So now ready to answer a few questions. So these are questions I have picked up from the exercises given in your book. I hope everyone has got your books or somebody has lost them. Yes, Preetha? Preetha Kothari, I want to talk to you. Are you there?
Yes.
What
Yes.
happened? You're not responding?
Ma'am, I'm there.
Okay. So I hope you've got your book.
Yes, ma'am.
Found it? Okay. Okay, so this is a question on the screen. You don't need your books. You can, this is a question number 3 of exercise 1 of critic of session 18. You can solve it from your book. It will be easy to mark, or you can solve it from the screen also. So read the question. I give you some time to solve it. So what is the type of question? This is a paradox question. Yeah, if you see, this is a paradox question. So you can try it before I read it together and get to it. So after reading the paragraph, what is the first thing you do? Identify the paradox. So have you been able to identify the paradox? Okay, we'll just first look at the paragraph. So it says, between 1960 and 1970, ivory poachers in the African nation of Zimbabwe killed over 6,500 elephants. During that period, the total elephant population in Zimbabwe fell from about 35,000 to just 30,000. Okay. Now we come to the next statement. In 1970, anti-poaching measures were implemented. Right? And between 1970 and 1980, that is the next decade, over 800 poachers were arrested and expelled from the country. Nevertheless, now here is your paradox coming in. By 1980, the elephant population had fallen to about 2,100. So what is the paradox here? In spite of the anti-poaching measures, the elephant population still fell in this period, right? So what was the reason? Now in between 70 and 60 and 70, they said the elephant population fell. So it can be assumed that it was because of the poachers, right? So now what do we have over here? They are still falling even after anti-poaching measures, right? So now how do you explain this? So that is what you have to do. Explain the paradox now. So why does it happen that even though anti-poaching measures were taken, elephant population still fell? So this is why we have to figure out, right? So then what do we do? Which of the statements gives us that why? So anyone has the answer? Can we? No one has the answer as yet. Read the options and try to figure out which of the options can explain this why. So that means you need a reason for the decline in population of elephants, which is other than the poaching.
Can we choose an option that is not mentioned in the question?
Yeah,
Does it need to?
no, it is not mentioned in the passage. We have to answer this why. So we have to look for a reason why this happened.
If we need to come up with a reason on our own, like based on our conclusion, I think D would be option D would be
Option
a
D.
good answer.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else with an answer? Aditya?
Option D, ma'am.
Option D.
Option D.
Right. So why did you choose option D?
I went about by elimination method.
So was option A says the poachers arrested in Zimbabwe between 70 and 80 were rarely sentenced to long-term prisons. Yeah. So that is again, we are going back to poaching. Yeah. But then even if they were imprisoned for long term or not, that is not giving you an answer for this. Yeah. Second, B says, because of highly publicized campaigns in the slaughter of animals, demand for ivory fell. Now, if demand for ivory fell, then elephants should not have been slaughtered. Right? So that doesn't give you an answer either. The elephant population in neighboring Mombasa rose slightly between 70 and 80. Does this give a valid reason? Doesn't really. The population in neighboring Mombasa may have risen due to other reasons, not because these elephants have gone there. Yeah, it doesn't really give you a very valid reason. Now rather we talk about in Zimbabwe what happened between 70 and 80,000 of acres of forest, the elephant's natural habitat were cleared for farming. So that is a valid reason why in Zimbabwe the elephant population may have gone down. So this is an assumption. Yeah, you are assuming. Right? So which of the assumptions explains the why? That will be your answer. And here D is the answer. Okay? Now we come to the next question. Now here your question is, you have a short passage, 2 sentences in fact. So it is based on facts. Your question is, the conclusion drawn in the first sentence depends on which of the following assumptions. Yeah. So which of the assumptions will explain, you can say, which of these assumptions can explain the given sentence? So read the 2 sentences given to you. Read the first sentence carefully. Why the second sentence, why this has been concluded, or why this fact has been given to you, and see what it could be based on. Anyone with the answer?
And C.
C. Okay. Let's see if C is the answer. Anybody else? Pahi? C. Satvika?
D.
Tanvi?
Ma'am, C.
C. Preeta, what's your answer?
C.
C. Okay. So why did you take C as the answer, Satvika?
For me, the conclusion drawn here is that because if this is implemented, there will be a reduction in the truck traffic. But for that reduction to be possible, it means that most of the trucks are having a capacity of more than 8
Capacity of
tons.
more than
So in
8.
that case,
Hmm.
the truck traffic would be reduced.
Yeah, right. Okay, now we have another question. The passage is the same, question is different. It says, which of the following, if true, will mostly strengthen the conclusion drawn in the second sentence? So just look at the second sentence and see what is the conclusion drawn. So what would be the assumption on which this conclusion is drawn?
Is it D? I
Mhm.
think it's D.
You think it's D? Okay. Anybody else?
D.
B or D? D for dog?
Yes.
Okay. Aditya?
D, ma'am.
D. Okay. So what is the reason behind choosing D, Pahi? Yes, Pahi, can you tell me why did you choose D?
Ma'am, it's clearly stated in the sentence, such a reduction in the amount of truck traffic would reduce the risk. So option D states that the trucks, those have the capacity of more than 8 tons, can cause collisions.
Yeah. So these would be causing collisions and these were removed so they would not cause any further collisions. Right. Okay, now let's look at this question. You have a short passage, again 2 sentences, and the question says, which of the following, if true, seriously weakens the argument? So what do you mean by weakening the argument? It says weakens the argument above. So something which does not support the statements. Yeah. So read carefully. So you can mark the keywords in the given options, given sentences. Now, offshore drilling has avoidable risk of oil spill. You have but importing oil on tankers involves even greater risk of per barrel of oil. Yeah. So if we are to lessen the risk of an oil spill without reducing our oil usage, we must invest more in offshore operations and import less oil. Yeah.
And option B.
Option B. So what do the other people think? Something that weakens this conclusion. Then we now they have already concluded that if we if we invest more in offshore operations and import less oil through tankers, then we can solve the problem of oil spill. Right? So which of these options will be going contrary to the given conclusion? Yes, Tanvi, can you give me the answer? Nobody else with the answer? Preeta? Anyone with the answer, please come up. Unmute yourself and tell me the answer and your reason. Satvika?
I think B would be the most suitable answer. B for that.
Okay. Pahi? What's your reasoning? Now, two people have said B. I don't know if it's correct or not. We still have to figure out. Yes, Pahi, come up with your answer. Pahi, Tanvi, Preetha, I don't want you, please have your videos on so we can communicate better. Yes, Tanvi. Tanvi, I'm waiting for your answer. Please, we don't have so much of time to wait for your answers. Preetha Kothari, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your answer?
Ma'am, it's B.
It's B, okay. So you don't have to wait for me to ask one by one. Just give me your answers, yeah? Okay, so why did you think it's B? What now the conclusion they have drawn is that we must invest in offshore operations because they think that importing oil leads to even greater risk. Yeah. So how do we weaken the argument? Now, importing oil on tankers is currently less expensive. That doesn't tell us that it could reduce the risk. Tankers can be redesigned. That tells us that we can that entails less risk, so we can still import with tankers, right? So B is probably the right answer. We'll still look at the others. Impact of offshore operations on the environment can be reduced by careful management. Now this has gone on to only offshore operations. Yeah, we're just not talking about tankers. Oil spills caused by tankers can generally have been more serious. Now, if they are more serious, then the conclusion is valid. Something that weakens the conclusion will be B, right? Okay. Now we move on to some question. In exercise 1, based on the same type of strategy, you can do the other questions, right? And I expect you to do the other questions whenever you get time before we come up with our next sessions in April, right? Okay, now coming to this question on finding the inference. Try to solve this. Which among the following can be inferred from the above passage? Yes, anyone with the answer? So here are some facts given to you and you have to be able to infer something based on the facts. So what are the facts? Number 1, that inflation could topple the government is gone. Yeah. It is now time, that is also a keyword, for the government to worry about inflating prices, about falling prices, especially of food. Yeah. So you can see the situation is not about inflation, but about falling prices. And it says that retail inflation has dropped. And it also says primarily due to the fall in prices of various essential items. So which of these statements can you eliminate? Can you not conclude from what is given to you? So they should be based on the facts. A says the government should not leave inflation at the hands of the RBI. Does RBI come in picture anyway? No. Okay. So we can eliminate. The government should understand that RBI is the main organization to control the autonomy and economy of the inflation targeting framework of the country. So again, it is talking about RBI responsible for these things. Even this we cannot conclude or we cannot infer, right? The situation of the economy in the past and present have changed completely with respect to governance of economy in the country. So can this be an influence? It is talking about what happened before and what is happening now. Yeah. Earlier, and the government should worry about falling prices. Why? So this gives you somehow why this is being said. Right? Okay, now let's look at D. The government does not have any response to falling inflation rates in the country, though others would have jumped at it. Does this come in as an inference? Can we infer? No. The only thing we can infer given the facts is C. Yeah. So now if you see, inference is not something that is outside the scope. It should be in the scope of the given facts, right? Got it? Anybody still confused with this? Satvika? Are you still confused? All clear, Aditya?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, so when you are talking about inference questions, that is how you would go. Now, I have picked up a few questions. I'm not doing all the questions in the exercise. You have to be practicing so that you will be working your brain cells. Okay. So this is how you would go around dealing with an inference question. Okay, let's get to another type of question. This is question number 2. What is the question about? You have a passage. Which among the following can be said regarding the style of writing in the given passage above? So when you're talking about a style of writing and you just have a look at the options given to you, what are you going to figure out from the passage? What type of passage is it? Is it a political commentary? It is explanatory, excruciating, or none of the above? Right? So go ahead.
What would commentary mean? What is the commentary?
Commentary, commentary would be, it is giving you the what is happening. What do you mean by a commentary? When you talk about cricket commentary, it gives you what is happening. So things that have been going on, that could be a commentary.
Okay. Can political be a style of writing, or is commentary more appropriate in this case? Because I'm confused in both of the options.
Okay, it is political. Now you go a little deeper. What is it trying to tell you? Go into the main idea of the paragraph.
It is providing a commentary on the present political state in the country.
Okay. Anything else it is doing?
So.
Is it doing anything else? What is the first sentence telling you? The first sentence is telling you what pole alliances are or how they are shaped.
Explanatory.
Right? Now, what is the second sentence doing? is telling you that after the elections results were out, the BSP, which had played hard to get along with the Congress in pre-election alliance talks, announced its support to the party in both Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So is this what this point had told you? So this was talking about post-alliances between parties shaped as they are intractable realities are easier to form than pre-poll alliances. Right?
Mm.
So now what did BSP do? After election results, what did they do? They announced support to the party in both Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which had hard to get with the Congress in the pre-election alliance talks. So they didn't have a pre-poll alliance, they went into a post-poll alliance, which was easier to do. So it is explaining a concept, or is explaining a fact. So though it is a political thing, but it is not a commentary exactly. It is explaining something. Right? So we can say it is explanatory. So when you are talking about style of writing or the theme, what do? You see, what is the passage trying to tell you? Go a little deeper. Don't just read and say, okay, this is about politics. No, you have to analyze. These are all, that's why we say there are critical analysis questions or critical reasoning questions. You have to reason out. Now, if you went into political, you would get a -1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in similar passages, political or financial or economic, these are not basically style of writing, but they are a description of the
Right. So
passage.
you have to see what are the options given to you.
Okay.
Is the style explanatory? Now, what does excruciating mean? Anybody?
It's something extreme.
Extremely painful, or something that is not good, a negative thing. So this will be something which is negative. So is this something that is negative? It is not really negative. You are given a point that this happens, or this is easier to do, and you are given an example to explain that. Right? So we can say it is explanatory. Everyone got it? Anyone still has doubts with this? Preetha? I think only Satvika is the one who is responding. What about all of you? Don't exist in my class? Or doing something else? Where have the rest of them disappeared? Some people have disappeared also. Okay, we'll do this question and then we can take a break perhaps. Yeah? Okay, now question number 5. Now, you read the question first and figure out what type of question, and according to that, you will get into your reasoning. Yeah? It says, which among the following will correctly explain the opinion of the author regarding the ongoing political turmoil in Sri Lanka? Yeah? So we have to figure out what the author's opinion is, or what the author is thinking when he is saying this. Yeah. So now next what you do is you read it. It says Mahinda Rajapaksa's decision to resign as Prime Minister, an office to which he was controversially installed by President Maithripala Sirisena, is the first sign that the dragging constitutional crisis in Sri Lanka is heading slowly towards a resolution. Yeah, is heading to a resolution. Constitutional crisis is heading to a resolution. So what does the author think about it? That something is getting better. Somebody has resigned. So the Prime Minister has resigned. It means that the constitutional crisis is going to get resolved. Yeah. Now you go into the options given to you. Now you have some difficult words. We have one, presbyopia. Anyone knows the meaning of this word?
Short-sightedness.
It's an
Short-sighted.
eye disease. Yeah.
It's an eye disease where you cannot see. So if you take it metaphorically, it would mean that you cannot see beyond something. Yeah. So that would be a negative thing. Now here we are seeing that it is something that is getting better. Means the author has some hope. Now when you have hope, it would be more of optimism. Yeah. Now we won't talk about bias. It is not showing any biasness. It is not about carelessness. It is about optimism. Right? Okay. So do you want a little break? 5 minutes? But not more than 5 minutes. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay? Okay. Okay, everyone back? Yes. Thank you, Satvika. Pahi, are you back? Okay, let's move on then. Okay, now here we have another question. Now, you can first read the question to figure out what you have to do. It says, which of the following can be inferred from the passage regarding, so this is again an inference question. From the passage regarding the solutions employed by the Indian government for solving the problems of the agricultural sector in the country. Now, if you look at the options given to you, they are one-word options. So, and yeah, they're all again coming back to vocabulary. We'll get to the, so first thing you do is you just read the passage. Yeah, and figure out what can you infer about the government's plans for solving the problems. Is it good? Is it bad? It is successful, not successful? What is it? What do you think from the given passage? It says Indian agriculture needs to go beyond loan waivers. Yeah, needs to go. Yeah, something should be done. Beyond loan beyond loan waivers and generous price supports. So probably this is what the government is doing presently, right? For rural household incomes to double in the next 5 to 7 years, the focus should extend to increasing productivity, crop diversification, and reducing cost. Diversification into livestock really lifts incomes, yeah, of cultivator households. So beyond crops, they have to go into livestock. The multi-pronged crisis in rural India calls for broad-based response. So clearly from the given passage, what can we infer? That the government needs to do something more. Government is not doing enough, right? So the government is doing something for now. So they have to go beyond doing what they are doing, right? So now we have to come to a word which would mean something of that sort. Now we have words which are quite difficult. Now, rancorous. Any idea what that would mean? Now, rancorous actually means resentful or something bitter, right? You have a bitterness for somebody, or you resent something, you don't want to get into it, that is rancorous. So is this the word that we are looking for? No, right?
No.
Okay. Petulant. Petulant means bad-tempered. Or some, you can say pervish. Pervish is also another word for petulant. Yeah. Okay. Then we have astigmatic. Now, astigmatic would mean that is a deflection in vision which prevents you from seeing beyond. Yeah, from focusing on something. So maybe that could be an answer, but we'll still look at the other words.
Ma'am, could you repeat what astigmatic means?
Astigmatic means, yes, Aditya?
By petulant, did you mean a synonym could be peevish?
Petulant could also mean peevish.
No, because there is no word such as pervish. I think.
No, not peevish. Sorry, it is peevish. Yeah, sorry. And astigmatic would mean something like it's a vision defect again, which prevents you from focusing on something.
Okay.
So if you take it in that meaning, say metaphorical meaning in this case, it could be that the government should focus on something more. It is not able to focus on what the on solutions which would solve the problem. Okay, now monomaniacal. What does that mean?
To be obsessed with one
Obsession.
thing.
Obsessed with something. Over obsessed. Opinionated, you know. You are biased about something or prejudiced about something. So which is a word which explains best what we can infer? Astigmatic, right? Now, when you get these type of questions in the exam, if you're not very sure about the words and the meanings, then don't take a wild guess. Yeah. So if you are more or less able, say you know the meaning of 2 words, or 3 words, you don't know. Usually you will get four options, and you don't know the other one, but you're sure the other words are not the answer. Then you can mark it, even if you don't know the meaning. But otherwise, you would be rather playing safe. Okay, now these were the inference questions and the assumptions ones. Now we come to the finding the conclusion questions. And you can go, you can do the other questions in this passage. So you are sure of how to deal with them. And of course, you will get, you'll come across some more of these type of words. So write down the meaning of the words whenever you come across. Okay. Okay, now we have here, when you, these are the type of questions where you have 4 or 5 options given to you, and you will be getting 2 statements. Yeah. Now, let's look at this question. Now you have a statement, you have 2 conclusions. Yeah. Now, what do you have to do? Now, in the previous one, we have the directions. In each of the given question, statement is given followed by 2 conclusions. You have to assume everything in the statement to be true, then consider the 2 conclusions together and decide which of them logically follows beyond a reasonable doubt from the information given in the statement. Yeah. So you can say whether only one of the conclusions follow, or both of them follow, or none of them follow. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the question. Your statement is the distance of 900 kilometers by road between Jafra and Bombay will be reduced to 280 kilometers by sea. Right? This will lead to a saving of 2.92 crores per annum of fuel. Now, these are the facts given to you. Right? Now the conclusions are transportation by sea is cheaper than by road. Would you be concluding that? Fuel must be saved.
No.
Fuel must be saved to the greatest extent. which ones of these would be concluding? Would you be concluding, and why?
I think neither of these.
None of them?
I think so.
Now it says distance of 900 kilometers by road between Jaffna and Bombay will be reduced to 280 kilometers by sea. So if you go by sea, your distance is reduced by 280 kilometers is one thing. Right? Distance reduced to 280 kilometers. Now this will be leading to a saving of 7.92 crores per annum on fuel. So why would you do this? You want to save fuel. Can we conclude that?
Yes.
Yeah. So we can conclude two, but can we conclude one? Transportation by sea is cheaper than by road. They haven't said anything of that sort. Whether it is cheaper or not, we don't know. The distance is less, we know, and we can save so much on fuel. That's all we know. So we can conclude that if we do this, we can save fuel. So fuel must be saved to the greatest extent that we can conclude. Yeah. So what would be your answer?
2.
Only 2. Right? Okay. Now we come to the next question. This book Z is the only book that focuses attention on the poverty issues in India between 1950 and 1980. So out of the two conclusions given to you, what can you say?
Only the second one.
We can conclude the second one. So this book is the only book. It already tells you that this book is the only book. Yeah. So we can say that no other book deals with poverty in India during this period. It's talking about this particular period. Maybe beyond 80 or before 50, there could be some books. But during this period, this is the only book. Yeah, so we can conclude 2. Can we conclude 1?
No.
No, we cannot conclude. Right? So if only conclusion, 2 follows. We can say that. So these conclusion questions are quite easy to do. And now we have another one. The percentage of national income shared by the top 10% of households in India is 35. Yeah.
The second one?
We can conclude second one, that it is unevenly distributed. Only 10% have contributed to 35, top 10% contribute to 35% of the national income. Can we conclude 1? There's no premise on the basis of which we can conclude 1. Yeah, so we will not go with 1. Right? Okay. So these were quite easy to do. Only you have to think a little bit. Okay, now we can do a few questions from exercise 4. All the other questions of exercise 3 are similar, so you can do them. Right? Okay, now exercise 4 is talking about summary-based questions. So, which of the following best summarizes the above paragraph? So here, what did we talk about in the summary questions? What do we have to do when we are reading the paragraph? Look at the main idea. Look at the keywords. And when you are picking, when you are choosing an option, what should it do? What should the option do?
It should contain the basic idea of the passage.
Yeah, it should be broad. Yeah. So now you can read this. You can get to the main idea.
Is it A?
Could be A. Anybody else with the answer? Aditya?
I'm confused between A and C.
Confused between A and C. Okay, read A and read C again and see which is the broader one.
Yes, ma'am. A.
Hmm?
A.
A is the broader one because the C is talking about corundum. And D is talking about aluminum silicates which are suitable alternatives to bauxite. Now if you see C and D are specific, there is only one specific point they are talking about. Yeah. A, what is B doing? It is not in the scope. Yeah. It is talking about something which is not really the main idea. A is the one, A is broad. It is talking about various sources of aluminum, and it is what is the passage doing? It is talking about the other sources and why they are not so viable or why they are not practical. Yeah, and it narrows down to bauxite. So A is your answer. So this is the summary question. Like these come very handy in your reading comprehension. You must have realized, right? Now let's do another one.
Ma'am,
Yes.
in the class test, I have often observed that many of the questions are taken from the textbook only.
Many of them are from the textbook.
Means these exercise questions, many of them are repeated in the class test.
Okay, could be because maybe I picked up questions from the previous papers and they could have included, and they could have been included in the exercises also.
Oh. But then it becomes like quite easy because I remember the right answer. And then
If you have done the exercises, then good for you.
yeah.
Those who haven't done the exercises may not be able to do them. So have you got this one? So what do you think should the answer be? Here also you have to summarize, you have to find an option which more or less gives you the summary of or the main idea of the passage. So what is the passage talking about? Nothing reveals more. If you look at the very first sentence, that will give you what the passage is talking about, right? Nothing reveals more explicitly the American middle class mind than comic strips, otherwise known as funnies. So what do these do? They tell us about the American middle class mind, what they are thinking. Yeah. So what are they thinking? That we get to know from the comic strips. So one of them is talking about the immigrant issue. Another one is talking about unemployment and jobs being shipped to India. Right? So which of the options can you eliminate? If you're, what is the keyword we are looking about for? What does the American middle class think? That is reflected. And with the examples given to you, these are two examples of what is happening, right? So what the people are facing, more or less, we can say. So A is the middle class in America has a funny way of looking at things, and American comic strips reflect the same. This is just about repeating or restating the given statement, right? Okay. Number two, the B says the middle class American only finds in comedy a reprieve from the problems of his daily life. So is this a reprieve from daily life, or getting away from the daily life, finding a funny moment and looking away? I don't think so. Two examples are quite great. The middle class American is tired of losing jobs and is using billboards to reflect his anger. No, the middle class is not using billboards to reflect anger. Now, D says the middle class American is not too happy with its current economic state, and comic forms of expression in society reflect the same. So, would this be an answer?
Yes.
So, what is this giving us? It is telling us what the middle class is thinking. They are not too happy. And it is also giving us what the comic strips are depicting. The comic and its current economic state and comic forms of expression in society reflect the same. So this would be a summary of the entire passage. This is the main idea of the given paragraph. Right? Aditya?
Yes, ma'am.
You think it's D?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's look at another one. Here also, you have to read the paragraph and get to the option which gives you the main idea of the paragraph. Summary is basically the main idea of the paragraph. So here again, you look at the first sentence. So you would expect something about the object of medical education in the paragraph, right? That's a question. Now again, it goes on to, is it to enable the practitioner on the one hand to prevent disease by his knowledge of hygiene? On the other hand, to divine its nature, that is the nature of the education, and to alleviate or cure it. Yeah, there is a disease by his knowledge of pathology, therapeutics, and practical medicine. So this is the first sentence is talking about enabling the practitioner and help him cure. That is his business in life, and if he has not a thorough and practical knowledge of the conditions of the health, of the causes which tend to the establishment of disease, of the meaning of symptoms, and of the uses of medicine and operative alliance, he is incompetent. So if he doesn't have a thorough knowledge, he is incompetent. Even if he were the best anatomist or physiologist or chemist, or even took a gold medal or won a prize certificate. This is one great truth about respecting medical education. So what is this talking about? That is the person who is in this medical field or the practitioner, what should the practitioner be doing? First of all, he should have knowledge of hygiene and about how to cure the disease. Yeah. Secondly, he should also have thorough practical knowledge of conditions of health, causes which tend to establish that he should not only be able to cure it, but also know what is causing it. Sorry. The meaning of the symptoms. Yeah. And the uses of medicine and operative alliances. That means he should know more or less everything. He is incompetent if he doesn't know this. Even if he were the best anatomist or physiologist or chemist, he may be the best person to cure. He may have knowledge of everything else, but he should know these. So what does it mean? He should have an overall knowledge. So what is the object of medical education then? What would be your answer?
D.
D or B?
D, dog.
D, dog, right? So why did you choose D? Why did you eliminate A, B, and C? What is A doing? It just says it is not as simple as it seems. Yeah? a challenge of being able to identify, prevent, and cure disease to the medical practitioner. This is just identify, prevent, and cure. It is only the one part. Yeah. B says medical practice is simple science dealing with identification, prevention, and cure of disease, and the doctors often forget the simple precept. So that is also giving one particular thing, but not explaining everything. Practitioners of medicine need not focus on individual gains. So this is also specific. Yeah. Now, in fact, this is need not focus on individual gains is not really in the scope. Now, coming to D, prevention and alleviation of diseases are two holistic measures. Yeah. So it is not only prevention, but also alleviation of diseases that drive the efficacy of a practitioner of medicine. So that is what the entire paragraph is dealing with. Right? Okay, let's look at some others. So these are the summary questions. So summary questions are mainly about what? The main idea of the paragraph or the passage. Right? Okay, now these are the here we have the odd sentence out questions. Now, when do you did the odd thing out means what? It did not have the same. It was not in the context, or did not belong to the same group. Now, when you have these are the types of options also the strategy that you dealt with when we were doing paragraph completion questions. Yes, Aditya, what did we do in paragraph completion questions?
Understand which sentence fits best.
So,
the opening or the closing.
What was the strategy to eliminate?
Highlight, summarize, and something which doesn't fit in logically, that is not the right.
It is not in the scope, it is not logical, it is not in the context of the of something that is being talked about. Yeah. So now here what you have to do is, it is say a mix of your paragraph completion and para jumbles. So you have to read the sentences and see which one does not fit in. Yeah. So try to do it.
Ma'am, C, because every option is talking about cows and so
this is also maybe these arguments maybe about cows, but what else is it doing? What else are the other sentences doing? Now this is talking about during the framing of the Constitution. Yeah, subject of clause Soto, one of the most fraught and contentious topics of debate. Then this dispute, so it was a dispute that we are talking about debate. This follows. Over prohibition of sale of cows and buffaloes for slaughter markets has a history which goes back to the founding of the Republic. Yeah, so it's talking about what happened earlier. Now the Supreme Court rejected these arguments. This comes in as a little odd man out, right? It doesn't follow the previous sentence. Anyway, yes. Proponents of clause Soto ban advanced a mix of cultural and economic arguments. So this is also in relation to the context we were talking about earlier. Then Seth Govindas, a member of the Constituent Assembly, framed it as a civilization problem. So again, we go back to the Constituent Assembly. So A, B, D, and E are related to the same thread. Yeah. So we have to see, are they all related to the same thread or context? So they follow. D, C is the only one that doesn't. Okay, let's look at this one. So here, what do you think is entire, like all these sentences actually would make a paragraph or related points, we can say. So which one is not related? Or-
Maybe option C, because others are talking about the responsibility towards the economy, and this does not specify the responsibility. Wala.
Right. So this is not talking about the responsibility of the individual at some level or the other. Yeah. This is talking about what is going on over the past few years in India as a whole. So we can eliminate C. Okay, let's see another one. Maybe this one you can try out. So what do you think? Which one can we eliminate?
Other options are talking about the undernutrition, but the first one, option A, is talking about the overweight.
Yeah.
Is more.
So all of them are talking about health and nutrition, what India is doing, its position in the world. This one is talking about just overweight and it's giving us statistics, in fact. So we don't need that information in this. It is not related, right? So got this? Aditya got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, now we come to another type of question. What was it? Sentence replacement question. Now this is what you came across in the reading comprehension. Yeah, which here you would you're given a sentence is given to you, and you would look at the option which can best replace this sentence in a given paragraph or so. But here we have just sentences, so we'll just see the option which is similar to it in meaning and essence, and it should be grammatically correct. Maybe it could be concise or not. Just read this. So which one of these options is closest to the given sentence? Anyone with an answer? Yes, Aditya, what do you think? Which ones can you eliminate and say this doesn't say the same thing as the given sentence?
C, E,
and
A.
A. Yeah. Now, if you look at B and D, B says men being biased towards themselves claim that women can't do many tasks. Is this saying can't do many tasks?
No.
No, right? So we can eliminate. So we are left with D. Men being extremely prejudiced, so much biased is the same thing. Against the qualities of women, opine that they think that men are superior to women in any given task. So when they say she is a man, they think that because men are superior, we can say that, okay, this is like men. Yeah. So if we eliminate also, we can get to the answer beyond any further analysis. Okay, let's look at this one.
B.
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 Okay. Aditya, what do you think?
B.
So if you see the given sentence is talking about many hospitals in the area are there, but these services are not adequate as far as the number of people and quality of treatment is concerned. So B is the only one which says even though there are many hospitals, yeah, A says in spite of the presence of government hospitals, but we don't know how many. So yeah, it does say in great numbers, patients are not being served adequately. But why served adequately doesn't give us the entire picture. Yeah, so this is eliminated, doesn't give the entire picture. B gives us the entire picture, which provide health to be, but the services rendered are inadequate in terms of quality and quantity. Yeah, quantity and quality. So B now here, although they are trying their best to serve, with an increase in population, find it difficult to serve. So these are eliminated. This is not giving the same thing. Okay. Now you want to do another one? Or you want to move on to some other? I think we'll move on to another question. Okay, so these are the assumption questions. Right? So what do you do when you have an assumption question? First, see what they want you to do. Which of the following strengthens the fact that predators such as pythons are returning to habitats they once occupied? So that means there's a conclusion in the passage that pythons are returning to habitats which are occupied, and we have to figure out an assumption which will be strengthening this particular conclusion or the fact. So if you read this, first read it, what it is trying to say. You have to figure out a clue from the given passage. You have to look at what is being said about pythons returning to habitats. Yeah.
I think it's E. It's E.
C?
Yes.
C or E?
E.
Creditors. And because this same question was there in the previous test.
Okay, yeah, I think so. So, we cannot say most pythons live on land. Now, in the passage itself, it says scientific literature divulges that these creatures are actually returning to the habitats they originally occupied. So they have been there earlier. Now they are returning. So we can assume that they remember something about it. Yeah.
Yes.
So they still live on land. That doesn't make sense. Predators such as pythons have an awareness of the place they were born in. Now this could be, but it doesn't really give us a clear picture. Yeah. They have an awareness where they were born in, it is not that generations of them were born in the same place. Pythons, the same python who was born in one place, went away, came back. It's not like that. The scientists have been discovering that they are finding pythons in those places where they didn't find pythons earlier. But they're not talking about the same python in a different place. Yeah. So we can't say that where they were born in. Most pythons prefer, that is not the answer. Most pythons live on land and water, that is also not the answer. So E is the only one. Okay. Now let's look at this one. This is a different type of question. Again, based on assumptions. Now you have a statement given to you. You have assumptions. Now you have to figure out which of the assumptions would be implicit. That is, only assumption 1 is implicit, only assumption 2 is. So which one of them implies to the given statement? Or which of these assumptions could have been the basis of the given statement?
Ma'am, both can be.
Both can be. So the statement says a warning in a train compartment to stop train pull chain. Penalty for improper use is 500. So it's a warning to not use the chain. So why the warning was given? So again, we come back to the why. Right? Why? Some people misuse. It could be that reason. On other occasion, people may stop the train, want to stop a running train. That could also be. So both of them can be. So what will your answer be? E, both of them.
E.
Right? Let's see if we have any other type of question. So this one is about weakening the statement. Which one of the following, if true, most seriously weaken the? This is similar to the to one of the questions we did earlier.
Ma'am, A.
What can we conclude? We can conclude A, right? Risk of future accidents. So they would rather prevent the accidents than pay up fines for those accidents. So we'll now install adequate environmental safeguards. Right, Aditya, do you think A is the answer?
Ma'am, I think it's option D.
Option B?
D.
Businesses treat fines that they are levied against them as ordinary business expense. Okay, now read the last sentence. We are talking about something that weakens the argument. It is not supporting the argument.
So, ma'am, if the businesses see these fines as ordinary expenses, then they will not install the environmental safeguards, right?
No. Treat fines that are levied against them as ordinary expenses. If they're treating fines, then they would be paying them. Their businesses value their profits. Yeah. Those that might have such accidents will now install adequate environmental safeguards. Yeah, that can also be, but which one is better?
Ma'am, businesses.
What are we assuming?
Businesses like their profits.
Hmm?
Businesses like to be in profit.
Do you think A is the answer or D is the answer?
Ma'am, A, because business like won't take the risks for granted. No.
Yeah, because here businesses treat fines that are levied against them as ordinary business expenses is that, okay, they are doing this, they're ordinary business expenses, so but they want their profits. Because they want their profits, they are installing these, right? So they are treating them as expenses. Now, if they don't treat them as expenses, they will not do this thing.
I think, in my opinion, both A and D seem correct, but the question states which of the following most seriously weakens. So I think there we should go with it.
Yeah, most seriously is A. This is stronger.
It also weakens the argument, but A does it most.
A does it better. Because here, if they are treating it as an expense, then also they will be doing it. But like if they are not taking it, they generally underestimate. If they are not taking it seriously, then they won't do anything about it. Yeah. So we are talking about the other way around. Okay, I think our time is up. There are other questions which you can do in this. And the rest of the exercises, though, of course, they are about sentence completion and para completion, right? So yes. I think this will help you in your critical reasoning questions in RC and others also, right? And I would expect you all to practice. All of them are not there, only Aditya and Pahi are there anyway. The two serious ones, I suppose. Okay, I think your exams will be coming up now, right? So we won't be having any more of the... Okay. So I think we will be having further classes or like revision classes, we can say, only after your exams are over in April, right? And if you, yeah, but still you write your class tests as far as possible and the mock tests, if you get time, so that it doesn't get onto a pressure mode in April. Okay? Okay then. And if you have any other questions or doubts, write them down. We will be meeting on the 22nd for doubts. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
हाँ